over the...
Even when you can't hold up any longer, your hair can with FinalNet. It's not an aerosol hairspray, no aerosol propellant mixed in. FinalNet's concentrated to hold your hair all day. FinalNet holds up longer than you do.
How about the bottomless pit?
So, I think it's pretty fun that that's a 1975 FinalNet commercial filmed at the park, filmed at GA.
Yeah.
I think it's fun that even back in 1975, those MFers were selling out. You know, hey, you want to sell? All right, we'll take the money. You know,
They got bills to pay, man.
exactly.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack with that ad. There's a lot to unpack.
I know, right?
I mean,
Oh, crap.
it looked to me like that stuff made her high. You know.
Well, I mean, back then they did snort and sniff everything, glue, whatever, you know. So,
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if people were taking hairspray, putting it in a paper bag, and huffing it. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think we knew people like that actually growing up.
Yeah, we did. All right. Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of Some Great Adventures, the podcast for old friends who met and worked at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey, chat about the days in the park. As usual, our podcast is made available by our friends at the Shared Universe Podcast Studio. We're recording via Facebook Live, so the video version is always available on our Facebook page. The audio version will be available on all major podcasting platforms within about a few days, week at the top, you know, as fast as my lazy ass gets it uploaded to the RSS feed. Except, I will note, anyone that listens through Stitcher, well, you're SOL, because Stitcher is actually fully going away, apparently on August 29th. So at the end of this month, Stitcher is saying goodbye. And they sent me the weirdest email. They basically said, effective August 29th, we're ceasing all operations. Everything will shut down. You'll no longer be able to access any shows, downloads, preferences, listening histories. It will all be gone. But then they actually said, which really made me laugh, and it's actually very nice of them, we do want to thank you for being part of our loyal Stitcher community. So as a loyal listener and podcast content creator, we're offering you 6 months of free Sirius XM if you just blah, blah, blah by September 6th. Now, considering Sirius XM costs like almost $400 a year to have.
Yeah.
That's a great offer. I'm not going to lie. That was like a $200 discount.
Yeah. A little off topic, but just threaten to leave, Sirius. You know that move, right?
Yeah, right? No crap.
Yeah, just tell them you're leaving and they give you half off or maybe even more. Yeah, I think I've got it like $6.
Exactly. So RIP Stitcher. Otherwise, it'll be available everywhere.
Damn name, Stitcher.
I know.
I'm gonna pour out a little bit of my drink.
Don't pour out that drink. It's a good drink, all right? Always drink.
Yeah.
And my
One for the homies.
Yeah, one for the homies, one for Stitcher. I'm Steve Hicks, and as always, my co-hosts are
Scott Loudon,
Chris Peluso.
And we have a special co-host today, which we'll get into 1 second. We do want to say we have a valid call-in today. Unfortunately, Andy might be joining us later, but he did get called into work, and he is a medical professional, so we cannot hold that call-in against him in any way.
It's still documented.
Yeah, as I know where Chris was going, unlike other people who have no shows on their record, but we won't get into that.
Hey, he's got a very awesome mobile response, though. The airport, that was hero mode right there, Loudon. And you made it work.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
I give him no credit. Moving on.
My intro part was long but distinguished, I'll have you know.
Yeah, that's what you like to say about a lot of things. All right, buddy? All right. But we have a special guest today. I met this dude way back in 5th freaking grade. We have been friends since the 5th grade at Millstone Elementary School.
Yep.
By the time we got to Allentown High, we were super close buds. And I'm happy to welcome Rich Scott to the podcast. How the hell you doing, Rich?
Hail Satan. I'm sorry, wrong podcast.
The controversial greeting right off the bat.
What's up, man? It's really, really good to see you. You know?
It's good to see you, too. Now, what's funny is Richard's middle name is Kester, okay?
Here we go.
Of course. My last name is Hicks. So that was already a lot of things rhyme with Hicks that I did not enjoy when I was in like grammar school and high school. Now,
Yeah.
imagine your middle name being Kester, because of course we constantly called him Keister. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
what's hysterical though, Rich, is that the one thing I can't believe you never threw back in our goddamn faces is if you look up Kester, it actually is defined as the masculine name of carrier of Christ, and it's a Scottish diminutive of whatchamacallit, of Chris. So it's literally a power name, and
Yes.
we defined it as a person's buttocks.
Rich was laughing his keister off the whole time when you were making fun of him. Hell yeah. Hell
For
yeah.
the irony.
Rich is all about peace and love. Rich just didn't give a shit. We call him Keister. He'd be like, whatever, assholes. I don't care. You know?
They know not what they say.
I mean, it's just it was yeah. It was an appropriate reference, so that's another story. Yeah.
All right.
But I found out about the Scottish thing. Like, what's that? Sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you saying about Scottish?
I was saying I found out about the Scottish lineage a lot later. My mother hit me to that it's actually a Scottish thing. Yeah.
Let's be honest. If you had said that when we were in like 6th or 7th grade, you would have probably just got beat up. I mean,
like a South Park thing, like,
we would have been like, you showed us, Rich. We were in a very different school. So. Exactly.
Yeah,
I should have. A lot more Nelsons in our school than Lisa Simpsons. You know what
I mean?
Yeah, man.
I should have just started wearing a kilt to school or something. That would have been funny.
That would have been cool. Yeah, Queen, and I know you just popped in. No, Andy. Andy got called in. He actually got called into work, so he has a valid call in. He's not a no-show today. So
don't leave, Brian. Don't drop.
Yeah, we know that Andy is the star, and we suck, but don't leave, Queen. All right?
We're gonna press on. We're gonna press on, but yeah, we know.
So, Rich, what we like to always do with our guests is we like to ask them the very simplest questions, and we'll just let you run as soon as I ask them. So, basically, when did you start working at GA?
All right.
Where did you work, and how long did you work? Like, what different departments? When did you leave, and why did you leave? That's pretty much the history we look for you to give us, and then we'll kind of jump in ad hoc.
Okay. Well, let's see what I can remember. Like you said, I started working at GA when I was 15 years old in 1985, and I was in the grounds department of ops. And we were basically the cleanup crew. We went and swept through the park, and we were the ones that my little team and I, we would change out the garbage cans and everything like that. We cleaned the bathrooms. That was fun. That was amazing.
Okay, so any particular bathrooms like that you were like, or area that you were normally in, or did you jump around?
Well, we jumped around a lot in my region, which was mostly centered around what we called back then, I guess it was the Western area. You know what I mean? Frontierland, that whole thing.
You know what's insane, Rich? It's hysterical. So I was going to ask the same question. And what's really funny is I started out on the Dream Street side, 15 in grounds, just like you. And I ended up in the Fest area. And so quick question. Did you ever end up making lead? Or were you just orange tag the whole time? And you were an orange tag, right?
I was an orange tag, and I stayed in orange tag until the next year when I transferred. I managed to transfer into the merch department, and then I spent about a year there and made it up to.
Don't go to merch yet. Don't go to merch yet. Hold on. We're not going to merch yet. We're going to stick with grounds for a second.
I did 5 weeks.
Okay.
Respect, fellas, both of you.
Wait.
Right to supervisor.
No. Wait. You did 5 weeks in grounds as a supervisor, or 5 weeks in grounds as like a black tag or an orange tag or something like that?
Lead,
right.
So what do you mean? You just were instantly given a red tag in grounds? I don't understand. What are you talking about?
No. You said
he is connected.
We do a lead in grounds because they're going to want to promote somebody who has grounds experience.
No, that's different. You didn't work your way up. You had nepotism going on there.
I'm pretty sure Peluso got hired in as a ride supervisor.
I got hired in as a rides lead though when I came over to rides because Robin knew me from Manchester High School, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, we need a swing lead, like you do it." She was like, "I'm gonna tell him you can do it. You want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, all right." That's how it started.
Was that Batman lead thing?
What's up?
Was this at Batman? You got hired in as a swing lead?
No, Typhoon.
Typhoon. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there was no actual night lead, right? It was a day.
No, it was just swinging night. Well, actually, there was no day lead. It opened at noon.
Right.
Swinging night. Yeah.
So, Rich, what's really funny is you left grounds the next year to go to merch. I left grounds next year to go to Western Rides. West would become my absolute favorite section, and we've had wars on this podcast about East versus West.
We know.
And all that. So, because me and Andy are West guys, and Peluso and Scott are East guys. So, we've had these wars forever. But it's really funny that I had no idea until me and you talked a couple weeks ago. I didn't even know you were in grounds. So, So I had no idea. So first of all, you had the same red badge of courage I had because you weren't getting any dates with anyone because everyone saw your orange tag and knew you were freaking years old, and they were like, "No, thank you."
That was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It was the worst, man. But when you said you did, so here's the thing: before I became lead, I basically refused to do porter duty. I refused it. I was not cleaning a bathroom. I didn't give two craps. The first time they told me I had to clean a bathroom.
Not even Blue Parrot?
Blue Parrot didn't exist back then. So
would you clean Blue Parrot? Blue Parrot was the bomb. It's automatic flush.
We know you sat in the Blue Parrot urinals and areas for a long time. We get it. We've all seen police.
They put those luxury bathrooms in the East. We're using those luxury bathrooms.
But we're not doing that, okay?
They didn't fancy up the place, until they built the East up, when we came over.
Yeah.
I remember, and I've said this on one of the earlier podcasts, the only time they tried to get me to clean a bathroom was one of the soups just called me over out of the blue, was like, we don't have anyone here right now, so you're gonna have to go in there and clean the bathroom. And I was like, okay. And I walked in. My little dumb 15-year-old self was probably 2 months into the job. They opened up one of the stall doors, and it looked like a baboon went in there because there was just poop everywhere. It was on the walls, on the floor, and I'm not joking. It was on the ceiling above.
Oh, I can tell you stories, dude.
Everywhere, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Just burn it down.
No. And what was really funny is there were 3 other people from my section already standing there. So the second I saw them grinning, I knew they tried to sucker the 15-year-olds. They were all black tags. I knew they were like, they all said no first. And so they were like, fuck that, we're going to make the orange tag do it. And I was like, nope. So did you ever actually have to clean bathrooms, Rich? Or
oh, God, yeah. Hell yeah, man.
God, you were way better than me. I said no.
Well, it's funny.
Wait, when you're saying clean, did you just go in and do the pan and brooming, check to make sure that the soap was full and the towels were full, and then you left? Or did you
We did that. Well, it was a combination of our normal routine would be to sweep through, and you had to check these bathrooms periodically and clean them, like you said, and just do the regular stuff, maybe mop up a little bit, change the paper towels and the toilet paper, etc. But sometimes you get those special calls from your supervisor where they needed you to get in there with a hose. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't good. It was very much like you described. There were numerous incidences where the guys that I work with and I would walk into a stall and it just looked like a human being exploded. It was gross, man.
You're a better human than me. I said no.
How did that happen? Like, I don't understand.
Exactly. How the hell? What happened in there?
I don't know.
I wish we had camera phones. Well, I don't wish we had camera phones, but for that one moment, I wish we did. Because no one's ever going to believe what I'm saying. But if you saw the picture, that would if I could take a picture, you'd be like, "Holy F! This is something out of a horror movie."
Let's say
it was everywhere. It was on all 4 walls. It was on both walls, back and the door. It was the whole toilet was coated, and it was up in the fucking air on the ceiling.
That's what I mean. But
that's what I don't understand.
That's your goal. Your goal is to be an ultimate asshole. You want to throw it everywhere, get it everywhere. In order to do that, you got to get it on you.
They get it on the ceiling.
But you got to get it on you to do that. Like the joke's on that person.
Right.
How and why and it's just do the ends justify the means? I just don't understand it because you're covered in that shit too. Literally
Ah.
covered in that shit.
That's my
Our
point.
primate cousins do it all the time. They throw.
Oh yeah, that's their show of aggression is throwing
Wow.
poop at people. But I'll tell you, man. I mean, I remember having numerous, almost metaphysical conversations with my
Yeah.
coworkers regarding how the hell did that happen? How did they get it over there? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Grounds, man. Grounds suck. Grounds really
Yeah.
did suck. When you were 15, grounds sucked because you just got taken advantage of.
Oh
I
yeah.
ended up doing just dumpster runs. At the end of the day, I covered sections with a pan of broom, and I did dumpster. Nobody wanted to do that either, and I actually liked doing that because it was hard work. So for me, I didn't mind that. The only thing that sucked is that you smelled like a dumpster at the end of the day.
Right.
They said,
Oh, it was gross.
wardrobe. But like I said, we were 15. We weren't getting any. Nobody was dating us anyway.
It was fine. It was fine.
We could have smelled like roses, and we weren't getting dates, you know. So
Yeah, but you know, one of the benefits, one of the perks was that, like, if we found money on our shift, we got to keep it. And you could, you know what I'm saying? You could find a lot of money sometimes.
I cannot tell you how many times I would look down on the ground and just see a wad of bills that someone had fell out of their pocket. It was all over the ground. And here I am with my can of broom, looking around going, please don't touch me. I sweep it into my pan, you know?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. People would throw money in the garbage cans.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
It was
I made a lot of
that
money.
you definitely found money, for real. I found a lot of money. Although,
150 boy doesn't know anything over there about keeping money they find.
Well, that's loose change. So, you know, what do you do? You know?
Yeah. Because back in the day, man, it was free game.
I will say, though, if I found wallets, I turned them in. I never, ever took a wallet. I never took the money out of a wallet either. But money
Yeah, me too.
Without any owner tied to it, flowing in the wind on the ground or in a dumpster, that's mine.
I mean, really, what are you supposed to do? Like, go, hey, I found a $5 bill and bring it to security, and somebody's going to come and claim it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, right.
I found a money clip before.
Nah, that's...
You know what I mean? And then the person was like, oh, shit. Only about 30 seconds later came back looking for it. So that was like, you know, I mean, it was a clip of money. I don't know how much it was.
I'll be honest with you.
But it wasn't $5.
I would have turned that in too. And the whole time I'd be mad at myself going, if someone doesn't come up, they're taking this clip and money, but whatever. I don't want to get in trouble. I would have done that. I would have done that.
I never found any money at the park. I did find the weed, though, one time.
Yeah, but you got all that money when you were in a blue parrot bathroom, so it doesn't matter. You know?
But I had to work for it, damn it. Work for it.
All right, moving on. Anything else about grounds that you can think of, Rich, that was interesting or fun or vile before we get into
there's a couple of things. I mean, on the bathroom tip, there was an advantage. You know, when it was like super hot and humid outside, we had our favorite bathrooms that had the best air conditioning.
That's
and you can go in there and like chill out for a little bit. You know what I mean?
I will also say one of the fun things too is remember that all of the fountains during our time there had where you can go behind them and you could stand behind the fountain. They were all basically in a brick enclosure. All the bathrooms, when you walked into any of the bathrooms, they all had fountains, which were right in between the two doors going into the men and women's room. Behind them is where the pipes were. So what you could do is you could stand behind there, put your hands down to where the pipe nozzles were, and you could control the flow of the fountain. And I would wait until little kids came over, and I would turn it up full, and it would blast them in the face.
Oh my god, that's hilarious, man!
Now they think they got the gauge though. They're like, "Oh, it's a high fountain." They move down, and I drop it so it emptied, and there's no water coming out. And then they would lean down, blast them in the face.
Oh my god, that's funny. So you were behind the malfunctioning fountains. Ah, okay.
No. Dream Street always had functioning fountains over near like ski ball barn and all that. But that was the mentality of a 15-year-old for sure.
And then do you remember, did you ever work with that insecticide that they had us carrying around that could shoot like 30, 40 feet?
Yeah, laser.
And
laser.
That stuff was evil. We used to squirt it on like styrofoam cups, and it would melt them instantly.
And it melt them right the fuck down. Dude, they still sell it at Home Depot. That's how you kill. That's now just wasp spray, but it's not the same content.
That explains Steve's third arm that he had.
Yeah, man, that stuff was evil. Oh yeah, we got up to some nasty business with that stuff. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. All right. So then you did. What was your first year? When did you start?
85. I started. Yeah.
That so
And
you
then
know we were mentioning this while we were in the right before we launched. So it's funny because me and you were close friends in high school, and we worked there while we were in high school. But it was a weird thing. And Peluso said this was kind of like for him too. It was like very weird because you could be friends with people in high school, but your GA life was separate from your high school life. So me and you would party at band parties and stuff during that time. But however, I never hung out with you and your GA friends, and you never hung out with me. And I didn't even know what you did at GA until like a couple months ago when we talked about it. And that's so
funny.
We went to school every day since fifth grade, and we did not know our history together, and we were close. So it goes
we
to
hung
show.
out all the time.
Yeah, it goes to show.
I worked for Steve for like 6 years at the park. He didn't know what I did the whole time.
Because he didn't do anything. That's why. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know.
I didn't take an interest.
That is funny.
I didn't know your name until a year ago. Shut up, man.
And I think some of that is regional too, because you guys were starting to get into the conversation about which part of the park is best, and
absolutely for sure. You nailed that. Oh, we've had so many discussions on this podcast about how, like, in rides we would have wars among each other, but otherwise we didn't really party together. Like, you could be working one section over between 140 and 150. 150 was not partying with 140, even though they all worked right next to each other. They were their own microcosm.
Well,
well, that's because you were there. But
Gary was just like that. Like, Gary and I were close in high school, but Great Adventure, not at all while he was in grounds.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird, And I mean, Gary was somebody that was there a long time, but even more interesting, too, these weren't like lifers like us going there a long time and everything, but I drove people from high school that we were really close with. My friend Eric, friend Al, we would drive there. It would all go our separate ways there, no interaction whatsoever, and then drive home. It was kind of crazy, how nothing GA related at all for a long time.
Yeah. It's weird. So
that's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah. So what made you? So what people don't know on this podcast is that Rich has been a musician since like the day I met him. That's his passion, that's his life, that's his love. I mean, the MFer's in 4 bands right now. Always struggling like 3 or 4 bands, and kind of always has since I met him. I literally have pictures of him in 8th grade in a band, Live Wire or some shit that we had back then.
Oh, timepiece,
Timepiece, yeah. It's like, it's crazy. And but what made you go to merch and not shows?
Well, I became extremely fixated with the Recording Studios of America facility that they had, because they had gear. They had mixing consoles. They had all that. And I just wanted to work with it. I wanted to get my hands on it. So I kind of became laser focused on that as opposed to going into shows. Plus, I found out at the time that if I wanted to get into situations where I could actually make a living there as a musician, I had to be in the union, because it was a union gig. Right. And I wasn't in the union at that time. You know what I mean? So I decided, let me try this merch thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That makes sense. So did you go right over to merch and go right into the recording studio?
No, actually. I think they moved me around to a couple of the merch stands that they had over there. What do you call that area there that's kind of like the arcade?
Dream Street. The recording studio
where I
was
worked.
Dream Street Arcade.
Yeah, over there.
We used to. I mean, and there was also the 4 Tents area. So.
Yep. Right over there. I got bounced around a few times, and then I finally made it into the recording studios.
Did you have to like keep?
And I ended up managing it for a little while.
Did you say that from day one? That's where you wanted.
Kind of.
Pushing it.
Yeah. I wrote it. I recall writing that on paperwork, even. So. Yeah, I was totally just, a pain in the ass about it. And they finally were like, fine, let him in there. I think they kind of moved me around just to be like dickish about it.
Well, no, if it makes you feel better, and this is so honest, if you weren't a hot girl and you came into rides, if you're a hot girl, you're going to Rapids, you're going to Mine Train, you're going to someplace great.
Yeah.
If you're
you get all the choice spots, right?
If you're not a hot girl, you're literally anyone else, guy or girl, and you come in there and you're like, I want to go to Congo Rapids. I want to go to the log flume. you're going to BBL.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to start.
Well,
The best part I ever had.
Sad world.
Year that Steve spent in HR hiring before the season started, and like
I don't believe anything he's saying right now.
and
It's all a lie.
I was like, oh my god, there's so many hot chicks in our section. What happened? Steve's like, yeah, I know. He's like, and we
That's
sent
funny.
it our way. I was like, thanks, man. Thank you. Very
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'll tell you, the recording studios was like that. Now that I think about it, before I worked there, it was mostly very attractive girls that worked in there.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of that. And I think you have a point. That could be part of the reason I couldn't get the gig until they realized, wait a minute, this kid's really into that. He kind of knows stuff about it. Because I was, me, I'm a music nerd.
Yeah.
So I'm always spewing off about technical stuff and everything. And I did that a lot to try to get the gig. And I think they finally were like, fine. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, honestly, that used to work with a lot of people too. They would be up our asses constantly like, all right, I mean, I'll start on this ride, but can I go to that ride eventually? And we'd be like, yeah. And we would. Eventually, they would earn it and they would get over there, But it was the same thing. It was like you kind of had to work it and earn it to get what you wanted, even though, in all honesty, like a person like you had every qualification for it from the very beginning. So,
it still took a lot of doing, though, but it was fun. It was good when I got in there,
So for people who don't know what that is, I'm going to give you a very quick history from our friends at the awesome greatadventurehistory.com site. They also have a Facebook page. It's fantastic. And so here's a very quick history of the Recording Studios of America, which is where Rich worked in merch. With the Pac-Man fever sweeping the country, video games became big business for the park. And what was originally a merchandise gift tent became Dream Street Arcade in 1982. As the gift shop was shrunk and eventually removed in 1984. With the changing technology, a new theme park attraction was introduced, the Recording Studio of America, which actually harkened back to the early days of amusement parks where there used to be booths to make your own records. And I'm actually old enough to remember that as a kid, literally being able to go in and make a 45. I actually remember that as a very little kid. And it was like at the end of that time when you could do that. The new twist was Recording Studios of America, which produced audio tapes and later videotapes of guests performing their favorite artists' greatest hits of the day. The recording studio was a huge hit for many seasons, with guests enjoying their turn in the spotlight, and passing guests get great enjoyment from the talent, or lack thereof, being played on the speakers or through the glass booths. With the changes in video games, the arcade was changed and reduced in size over time. With changes in technology, the idea of having to perform in a recording studio also became a thing of the past. And sadly, it was replaced by the relaxation station, which featured state-of-the-art massage chairs, and oxygen bar, and aqua massage tables. So if you didn't know, Rich, that's what happened to your beloved recording studio.
That is interesting. That's very interesting.
So let me jump on a fact that was just said there. So here's my favorite I don't really have a lot of memories of the recording studio. I don't ever remember going in there and recording anything in there, but I always remember going by. I would walk through that arcade all the time to see who was recording in there and what they were singing. And the one thing I remember specifically is that the speakers outside would play whatever was recording in there. So if you're walking outside of the tent, not just inside, but outside, you could hear the person that's doing the recording. And the windows were glass and the booth was glass. So if you stood there, you could watch them as well while they're singing.
If they open the curtains, they had a choice. They could open them or close them.
Did you allow them to make that choice, or did you guys do it yourself?
No, we let them make that choice.
Okay.
We usually, unless there was some unruliness, and then we'd have to close the curtains.
So here's something I also remember, though. Sometimes I'd walk by and I would hear someone singing a song and I'd hear the actual music playing with it. Sometimes I'd walk by, and this is my one vivid memory. I remember hearing a lady sing. I don't want to say it's a lady because it was a lady to me at the time, but honestly, it was somebody in her 20s. And she was singing, I swear, and I could be wrong, but I think it was The Wind Beneath My Wings.
Oh, God. Oy.
And they deliberately were not playing the music. So all you heard is, you are the wind beneath my wings. Because there's no music. So it's just bad karaoke with no music in the back. The most embarrassing situation a human being could be put in, did you guys do that shit on purpose? Did you have the option to let the music track play through the exterior speakers or cut it out?
Well,
You did.
The technical capability was certainly there. Whether it was procedural or not is negligible. I have an explanation for this particular situation you're talking about. She
Okay.
must have been a bitch. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so hold on. That makes sense because if someone's annoying, you're gonna go around and screw with them. However, I cannot believe there was a scenario where you were listening and like a couple seconds in, you heard how bad it was, and you were like, I just got to drop the music and let everybody hear this with me. Come on, you never did that.
Only if they were being a bitch. I mean, like, if it was somebody who was a really sweet customer, we wouldn't do that to them, even if they suck.
That makes sense.
But if it was a bitch, we'd be like, oh, great, she's a bitch and she sucks. This is priceless. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, and people used to gather around. It was weird, like, because they played all that music out there, people would gather around to see who was singing, especially if they were decent. And so I'd look behind me because where the control booths were, we faced away from the front of the store, but the front of the store had windows too. So you could see us work when you walk by, which was pretty neat. I'd turn around and there would be like hundreds of people clogging the street sometimes listening to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
So that was something I was thinking about right before the podcast too. So as a musician, were there ever times you heard somebody step in there and you're like, holy F, I need to try to get this person to sing with my band? Did that ever happen?
I mean, that for me personally, I'm pretty sure that may have happened a couple of times where I heard somebody and was like, you need to like pursue this. It's pretty important that you pursue it. I don't remember if I pursued that person or not. Maybe I did. I think there probably were a couple instances where I said something, but most of the time I didn't. I didn't want to be perceived as creepy or anything like that. But
that makes
you
sense.
know what I mean? But you would hear people that definitely needed to do something professional with what they were working with, for sure.
It's the original American Idol right there, man. Like,
Kinda. Yeah. That's a great way of looking at it, you know?
When you were there, was it always the option to do both video and audio, or was it just audio when you first started and video got added? Like, was video even there when you were there?
No, when I first started, it was just audio. And then about a year or two after that, I think, is when they brought in VHS, which was even cool for me because I ended up getting my degree in radio and TV and film production.
Right.
So that was another one of those early situations where I got to put my hands on video equipment too.
Yeah, you got exactly what you wanted. That was your whole point in going, and it helped you. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool. And they even had a Chiron, as I remember. You remember what Chirons are, right?
I do.
Yeah, they have one so that we could put titles up, when people wanted their names put on there and dates and all this other stuff. So I got to work with the Chiron before I ended up in college. So that was cool.
This is the thing. I don't remember the video stuff very much though. So what was the backgrounds like on that? Like there was no such thing as green screen when you guys were there. So there's no green screen backgrounds. You weren't doing that, which is funny because when I went, I did a BC Boys video with my friends, like right after I left the park, or maybe while I was still there at Disney's Pleasure Island, which isn't there anymore. They had the same type of thing, but theirs actually had green screen, and we didn't realize it. So when we got done, we had this like cool background and everything. It was kind of neat. Yeah. But you guys didn't have anything like that, right? Like, what was it? Just like whatever the editing software had, like Starlight and bullshit like that. That's what was in the background.
It was very primitive, as I recall. I think we only had like maybe 3 or 4 background selections anyway. There was always, like you said, like a starlight thing that would happen or like a galaxy thing, but it was very primitive. It was very, very primitive.
In the comments, Tim Sternberg just said he was a merch employee.
Railroaded.
And he once recorded Vogue with his wife and he got suspended because of it. And it's funny because when we put the invite up, I literally remember when I talked to you, I was like, holy shit, we're never going to find anyone that worked in a recording studio that we can have on as a guest. This is like awesome. But
that is awesome.
When we put the invite up, I don't know if you know this person, but Laura DeGrande is someone who I don't know, but she follows the podcast. And she actually posted right under the invite, I work there as well. And I was like, holy cow, somebody else actually worked there that like is listening to this. So I don't know if you knew that person or not, but she actually said she worked there. And then Tim had posted underneath it as well that him and his wife had, worked in merch in the 80s and they had done both audio and a video. And he put a screenshot of the video. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, that is like the, like literally video toaster editing background shit. You know what I mean? Like that would almost look like a Commodore 64 background, you know? Like I loved it. It just made me so happy to see that. I thought it was cool as shit, you know?
Definitely.
You brought back so many memories. All of a sudden I remembered. I was like, my buddy and his wife, who both worked at the park. I don't even want to say their first names just in case they get pissed. Because he's definitely on the shy side. I'm texting him right now. It's like, dude, I'm on right now. I'm podcasting about the recording studio. I'm like, please tell me you still have your recording with your wife when you did Grease Summer Lovin'. Because it was
that was a popular one.
So freaking great. Because I remember him like trying to sound kind of cool and badass. It was freaking fantastic. Like he just texted me back. They don't have it anymore. I'm so pissed.
Yeah.
But you just nailed the next thing I want to talk about, Chris, because I couldn't remember except for the one bad video. Oh, Tim Serberg just said he still has his recordings.
Nice.
So, Tim, if you got those on an audio file and you want to share them,
that's awesome.
We'll make you a star. We'll put it right up there on the Facebook page.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
That's fantastic.
And they'll suspend you all over again.
That's right. They'll come back retroactively because that's how that park is now with their new CEO.
Now, but you're suspended.
You just made me think of Clerks where like the lady's like, I'm never coming here anymore, and steps out, and then immediately Randall runs out and goes, you can't rent here anymore.
You can't rent here anymore. Yeah.
Outside of me remembering, I'm still not sure if that was the song "Wind Beneath My Wings," but I really think it was. But I don't even know if it's the right time frame. But I swear that's a song that plays in my head when I remember that girl singing.
It was on the list.
All right, so I was right. That probably is it. What were the big hits at the time? You're right, Chris. I do remember Summer Lovin' playing
Summer Lovin'
time when I walked over to goddamn, because I had that's the thing. I worked in West. I had to walk by it all the time, so I always heard it. You know, what were the other big songs, Rich? Do you remember?
I mean, Summer Lovin' was a good one for couples. I remember that. We had a lot of couples wanting to do that. And there was a lot of Whitney Houston being played. How Will I Know? I had nightmares about that quite a bit. Greatest Love of All, I still have nightmares about that one.
Oh, my God. That's like the highest notes. There's no way they hit those properly.
I'm pretty sure we started some baboon riots in the safari with that one. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Was that one was awful. Dolly Parton comes to mind.
Oh my God! What, 9 to 5?
9 to 5 was one. Yep.
Yes,
A lot of the older ladies
that.
seem to like it. The middle-aged women, I remember they liked it.
Yes.
You know?
I'm not gonna lie. If I was like a Golden Girl, I'd be sitting there working 9 to 5. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I'll go in there and sing that shit right now.
That's great.
Right now, like if I was that age and I was an older lady, I would totally sing that song. You know?
Yeah, they loved it. They loved it. So yeah,
Tim just gave us a no in the comments. He said Simon Cowell would have blasted us. No one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to hear him even more.
Yeah, everybody send in their friggin' recordings, man. We'll critique them.
Yeah, man. Well, I do recall getting a lot of complaints from some of the other workers in other departments that work nearby about it because they were just like, "Can you turn that down?" You know what I mean? Like,
you know, it's funny. So when I was off duty, I remember when I was like 16 and 17, I would probably only 16 to be honest with you. I would go into the arcades and still play all the time. And at that time, as an employee, I would try to scam and find an arcade, someone who worked in the arcade. I'd be like, hey, man, I work in rides. I will hook you up with an exit pass right now on my ride if you hook me up with video games for the next half hour. And they would go and they would do it. So I would try to scam. That's the one place I did not freaking go in, even though they had the Tron game I loved. They didn't have any other games because half the time I would sit in there for like a half hour, an hour. The noise of those recordings was so bad often.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly, I really... The sad thing is, I don't remember ever hearing someone, except maybe walking by outside, going to my rides. When I was in that arcade, I don't remember ever going, oh, this is really good. I like this. I remember being annoyed almost all the freaking time, like, bad karaoke. This is bad.
Oh, yeah. The worst.
It was pretty bad. I mean, you as a musician, I have to think that you loved what you were doing, meaning that you got to touch the recording stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But you had to have felt like Simon Cowell, where you're like, get off the stage right now. Just cut it. I'll give you your money back. Did you ever offer the money back to anybody to stop?
I think there might have been a couple of those incidences where we were like, I can't charge you for that. It's fine. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Nice.
Get the hell out of here. But I'll tell you, as soon as when I'd head for the car in the parking lot after my shift, and I'd be like, "Where's my Fugazi tape?" You know what I mean, or something like that. I need to hear something heavy right now. You know.
Nice.
How much did they charge for that to make a tape?
I got to think about that for a minute. For some reason, $9.99 keeps popping up in my head. I know the videotapes were really expensive, and not a lot of people did them. Because they were like $50 or something like that. They were a lot. Yeah, they were pretty expensive.
One freaking song on a video? Wow.
Yeah. But
although I'll be honest with you, I think they were like that at Pleasure Island too, but we chipped in 4 people. Like so it reduced the cost because they let 4 of us do it.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But yeah, that's pretty funny. What was the format back then? Was it cassette?
Yep, it was cassette.
VHS?
Yeah, and we had 4. We would mix 4 tracks down to 2. I forgot why we did 4 tracks, and then we'd have a stereo cassette that we could present to the customer. So it wasn't like elaborate technology. We mastered onto cassettes and everything.
Did it even go to CD by the time you left, or was it just always cassettes while you were there?
Always cassettes, always magnetic tape.
Wow.
Always. Yeah. I don't know if they ever went to a digital format after that. When did you say that they closed again?
It didn't say, actually. We can look it up, and it's funny. I literally realized that this morning that it didn't have the time it closed, so I'm not sure. But I'm sure we could easily Google that. So, but to be honest with you, it is funny though. It's what's sad is that stuff like this was so cool to us back then, and it
Definitely.
is so. It just doesn't. There's no need for it to exist. I mean, I literally could record everything that they do on my goddamn iPhone. I mean, I have the recording studio in my hand. Everybody does now. It's kind of crazy. Like every capability they had, we kind of have there, including the editing software right on my damn iPhone. So I can do the videos too. Like the whole thing. It is kind of nutty how it's not been that many years and it's faded out. Like, God willing, we're all still here in 30 years. I can't even imagine what the tech is going to be like then. You know what I mean? For stuff like that. Because it just changes so rapidly now.
Yeah. And it's nice too. I mean, for guys like me who are independent musicians, it's nice to be able to actually build out a reasonable studio now at a comparatively low cost, if not free, depending on if you're talking software, if you have friends that can give you gear. There's all sorts of things you could do now that we couldn't do when we were kids. I remember getting. I was going to say I remember getting my first 4-track recorder. My dad bought me a really nice Yamaha. And that thing was like $600-700.
I remember.
At the time.
Yeah.
And now you could do that stuff, like you said, on your phone for free.
Well, what's hysterical, look at us right now. We could see, like everybody could see us. We're literally in a podcasting studio right now doing everything that you did, but it's all like completely digital. You know what I mean? I'm going to have it upload it to a server if I want it like in hours. You know what I mean? Everything we're doing right now, like we could literally start singing right now and it'll be here forever going forward. Like, it's so crazy, man.
Dude, we're live.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another one I thought of while I was just thinking of questions to ask you.
All right.
Back then, you could still buy the beer in the fest house and come in. What was it like with drunk people? Like that had to be an interesting job to have and dealing with the drunks.
I'll tell you, drinking and karaoke, they just go together so well. And we got our fair share. Yeah. I don't know. Something about drinking that makes people want to sing badly, I might add. But yeah, we got a fair amount of traffic in there at night in the summertime. From like the beer garden and stuff, people would come right over and get loaded and sing. Most of the times it wasn't an issue. Everybody was fairly reasonably cool. But, there were some incidents.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked, because I figured that might actually help you guys and get more people in there, because you're ironically, honestly, the only time I ever really drink in my life right now is me and Scott have one beer while we're doing this podcast, and otherwise concerts. And
Yeah.
here I am in the middle of the crowd doing bad karaoke, just like they did while I'm drinking. So it's like, I mean, literally, you are right. When you drink, you do want to sing. Like it is something.
Yeah.
There's something to it.
I see it all the time. I mean, even at shows, like just bar gigs and shows and stuff. People just, after they get to that certain point of inebriation, they become quite musical. So it helps our business.
And like remove your inhibitions. You suck.
Yeah. That's a big part of it, I think.
Well, here's an alternate question. So, did you ever have anyone that finished their song and knew they shit the bed so bad that they were like, I don't want to pay for this. Can you just delete it and let us walk out of here? Like, I just don't want to. I want to pretend it's never existed. Can we delete it and let it go?
Couldn't you paid after the fact? You could just like.
No, you had to pay before, didn't you?
You had to pay before.
You had to pay before. They weren't suckers. They weren't suckers. You didn't pay before, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you this. What I have witnessed is people immediately outside walking out of the facility and going to a garbage can, and you could see them just pulling the tape out of the cassette and tossing it into the. I've seen that a bunch of times. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm like, I guess they didn't like it,
They're not digging it.
Yeah.
Suddenly their ear muscles shrank.
Yeah. So I've definitely witnessed that, but nobody actually ran out on us. Not on my shift, anyway. I've never had that happen.
Gotcha. How many years did you end up working in the studio?
I think it was a total of 3 years.
And was that it? Did you just leave the park after that? You never went anywhere else, I can imagine. That was it, right?
Well, I mean, I stayed in merch for a little while before I ended up quitting, because I quit like my sophomore year in college. So that was like 1990, I guess it was 89, 90, something like that. But prior to that, I was still a manager in merch, and they just moved me around to different stands. I ended up, doing quite a few different things. So that was cool. I mean, it was neat. Didn't really like going after the safari, but.
So you got promoted, though. You got technically promoted out of the recording studio. Or did you become a manager in the recording studio and then get moved out? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, I got basically promoted to like first level manager, or I guess we call them supervisors. There's a red tag. And from there, my supervisor at the time said, I need you to fill in here and there and the other, in other places. And that kind of turned into a regular thing, which was fine,
And
I think I was on my.
At that point, you had enough of listening to the bad karaoke, so you're like.
Yeah, and I was like, I was in college. I was headed toward college, playing in bands and stuff. So I think I kind of got my fill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to get a promotion to supervisor and make more money, but when that didn't happen, I just kind of ended up doing something else. You know.
There wasn't that much more money in being a supervisor.
There was not. That's true. Freedom and the blue tag did let you get a lot of dates. Even the red tag did, as opposed to the orange tag. But otherwise, money wise,
yeah.
However, let's be honest. While we were there, we all thought we were kings and queens when we got those red and blue tags. Like,
hell yeah,
10 cents more, 25 cents more. Oh, then you got out of the real world. You're like, oh, that's the chumpiest raise ever. 25 whole cents. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tim was also in merch. The gentleman that's commenting. I don't know if you see the comments, Rich, but he was in merch at the same time you were. And he was a manager of the cookie shop. Did you ever have to work the cookie shop? Was that one you ever had to cover when you finally got promoted and got moved out of the recording studio? You did? You actually worked the cookie shop?
Yeah. The merch food stands were the best. Like, they had the candy stores. I remember the cookie shop. And that was the best because you could totally just snark candy all day if you wanted. Nobody cared, if you got hungry.
You guys did not. Those were never fresh baked shit, though. That was stuff that was brought in, processed, and put out on a shelf, right? Because I should have asked Gary this, Chris, when he was on. This always threw me off. Like, how the hell did all the candy shops and stuff become merch? Unless it was just that because nothing was actually cooked, it was never part of foods.
Well,
because it was just processed items.
Was the fudge shop? I think they were making the fudge there.
They were merch.
Yeah,
they were food service. They were merch.
Didn't they? Didn't they actually cook the fudge there?
Yeah.
I think they basically they prepared it, they heated it up, but
Right.
the actual process was done somewhere else. It was
All
all
right, so that
prefab
makes
stuff
sense.
like you're
Yeah,
saying.
I think it was like
Timmy-
cut
Timmy
to
just
order.
got
I
it.
remember them. I used to get it for Sam all the time, and I think they cut it to order too. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tim just commented it was 100% processed. That makes more
Yep.
sense. If you're not actually
Yep.
cooking anything, it won't be foods. That
Right.
always
Yep.
threw me off because when Gary mentioned that, I was like, I didn't even think about asking him at the time, but I was like, how the hell is that not foods? But I was like, well, now it makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. Like the
Um,
cookies were like those Pillsbury ones that you get, you know, in the tube.
Yep.
Just the cookie dough. That's all
Yep.
it was.
Right.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, even in food service and catering, you could get some high-end frozen, ready to bake cookies. You know what I mean? Where you're really not losing much. It was,
Right.
we had some real high-end stuff over in catering, so and they were fantastic. So
That makes
Yeah.
you can get some good stuff.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep.
What do you think, Rich? Anything else while you were at the end of your career? Interesting stories to tell.
I mean, I'd have to dust off the cobwebs. I'm sure I do have more stories. You and I, we got to hang out, dude. Like, we really do
We
need
will.
to hang, and
We
we'll
will.
talk some more. But I do recall that in retrospect, and I heard you. I listened to that Scott Carswell interview that you did. That was awesome, by the way.
There you
It's good to hear from him. You
That's
know,
all Scotty.
I'm glad I got to see him back in May too, and hang out with him a little bit.
Yeah,
But
Scotty's a good dude.
I ran into him at a bar right after that.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Him and his brother are both good dudes, man.
yeah, but he referenced a couple of things, and one of the things that you guys spoke about was the fact that that's like the best job that any of us have ever had. And even with my grounds experience and stuff at the park, I'd have to say that's the best job I've ever had.
Nice.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
whole entire experience was awesome.
I agree, man. I
Fantastic.
mean, that job prepared me for the corporate world in a way that no other job could ever do. Like,
Sure.
Yep.
like
Yeah.
the way that you went up the ranks and you had to deal with like, really crappy work ethic people versus really good work ethic people.
It was almost
And
like Game of Thrones.
it was like Game of Thrones. It really was.
It
And you
was.
also had people stabbing you in the back, left and right, when
Yes.
Yep.
you also want to be promoted, and we're more than willing to say you did a shitty job to try to get a promotion over you. Yeah, it was
Yep.
definitely
It was the best social training we could ever get. Couldn't even pay
Agreed.
for it, but
Yep.
they also did provide that as well, which a lot of companies do not provide or don't do as well, especially back then. I mean, there were
Yep.
a lot of training courses and things like that they sent us to early on, even as leads and then as supervisors and so on and so on. They did a nice
Yep.
job. They really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think that the fact that we dealt with the public face to face
Yes.
all the time,
Front
and
line.
every time they had a complaint or they wanted to punch you in the face,
Yeah.
you had to deal with it
And
right there.
You're usually ad libbing, yeah, because you didn't. It's not like you had like this exact situation.
No, every
before.
situation was new. You never knew. I mean, literally, you could get trained to be a 140 supervisor for an entire year, but until the day you are fucking there and the wheel unbalances and that ride operator who unbalanced it has no idea what they're doing, so they're making it worse,
I
and
did.
the whole park
I
here
used
is
to do.
scream constantly because they don't know how to fucking stop it.
Yeah.
Right.
Half that wheel wants to punch you in your face as they get off because they're so pissed off. Their kids are crying.
Yeah.
These are scenarios that no one could properly train you for. You have to figure it out on the fly or get punched in the face. And sometimes you
Yep.
get punched in the face.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think any of us work in those sort of environments anymore, but those it's so invaluable though, because despite that, we still have things in our jobs that are considered emergencies in quotes, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
and they're nothing in comparison to actual emergencies, but those actual ones really prepared us well. You
Yeah,
know?
there was like,
It's
you
this is
make
nothing.
literally life and death decision. That was like a 22-year-old or something.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And you're 150 feet in the air doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in free fall position, deciding, do I let this insane
Crazy.
person out who's threatening to kill me? You know, like we had to deal with that at 18, actually. So,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
times.
maybe because you were an overachiever, Chris.
And I'll tell you, like, as far as social skills go, I mean, just working in merch, doing what I did with the recording studios as somebody who's like inherently socially awkward, believe it or not, Steve.
Oh, I have my moments as well, dude.
Yeah.
Sure.
I struggle with that, and like just doing that job and having to deal with people directly was an amazing boot camp for how to deal with people.
Yeah.
I know like going into it, that was the one thing I was nervous about more than anything else was, holy shit, I'm gonna have to deal with like all these people face to face. And it freaked me out, but it's like jumping into a cold pool. Sometimes you just got to do it,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Eating shit, definitely great training for eating shit in a
Oh,
quality
Yep.
way. Uh,
Yep.
negotiating. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Not giving up the farm when somebody
Mhm.
comes, trying to get to that Twicket first. You know what I mean? Trying to
All
get that
that,
Twicket
yeah.
to do the sale. That's you know what I mean? Trying to avoid. There's like all those stages before you get to the cash back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what they
I
asked
know
us
how they
to
took
do.
it from now till the cows come home. $8.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I cannot tell you. I think we might have talked about this on a prior podcast. I cannot tell you. Once we became part of games, I cannot tell you how many people would reach out to like me and Andy and be like, from rides, and be like, all right, I got this person really fucking pissed off. I do not want to give a refund. Big Tweety. You got a big fucking Tweety? I'll even
Right,
take a
do
small
something.
Tweety.
Yeah.
A half-size Tweety, and their kid would suddenly stop crying. And they'd be like, all right, we're good.
We're
and I'm like,
good.
oh, God, that cost us $1. You're an idiot.
All you need is a Tweety in pajamas.
Yeah.
But that was our
You know-
job. Our job was to try not to, give away the money. That was our job.
Right.
you know?
Right.
So,
Try to keep them
although-
happy, but keep that money though.
However, I will say, if we honestly fucked something up and really put someone through a traumatic experience,
Mhm.
I don't ever remember being that mentality. I was the opposite mentality where I was like, let me get you a refund, 20 fucking Twickets and 5 Tweeties. I don't give a shit. You're going to get
I
it
could
all.
probably count them on just 2 hands the times I've given back cash, but there were times where it was like, this is legit.
Yeah,
These people had an awful time, and it's
Right.
not our fault. Give them their friggin' money back and the
Right.
Twicket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot bullshit this person in any way because I deserve a punch in the face if I even try.
Yes, they legit had a shit time. You know what I mean? Give them their
And
friggin'
see,
money back. Yeah, there were times.
That's what speaks to that customer service experience that we all had too, is like, learning when it's good to be ethical, when you should treat people right and do the right thing, and I do have to say that when I worked in the park, especially working at merch, I didn't see a lot of, management mentality like screw the customer, blah. If somebody had an issue, I didn't hand over a lot of cash, but my supervisors would. I'd call them over and they go, nah, give them a refund by all means. And I
Right.
think that's cool.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
In my current commercial job, corporate sellout job, I basically work with very large companies' HR teams, and I'm not at liberty to say their names, but they're very large, and you would know them all if I said them. I can give one out because they're not mine anymore, and they're struggling to come back in the U.S. But Toys R Us was my company. They were Toys R Us is still around, and they're back in the U.S. slowly, but they're coming back. They never left globally. They only left. They only filed for bank. They really only got screwed in the U.S. because they didn't run properly. Amazon kicked their ass is really what happened. But I would never be able to speak with these high-level HR people the way I speak to them now if I didn't have the training from Six Flags. It all came from that. It was so easy to move into this type of job from that training. And my favorite thing I love to say is, what are they going to do? Punch me through the phone? I used to have people threatening my life to my face at all
Right in
times.
our face.
Yeah. Like, you can threaten me all you want, but you're insane.
Yeah, no. I mean, I worked at a federal prison. I was a federal officer for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt safer there a lot of times than it did at Great Adventure. There are many moments. Don't get me wrong. The prison had its moments too that were far worse than Great Adventure, but overall, and a lot more tense times. I didn't have to break up any fights in the prison. How many fights did we have to break up at Great Adventure? You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Like I never got hit. I never got hit at the prison. I got hit at Great Adventure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
dude, I've seen like you recall there's been like actual riot situations at Great Adventure when we worked there.
Yeah, 999. Yeah, those were the fun old 999s. We talk about those a lot, Rich. I know you haven't listened to all the episodes, but there's a couple where we focus on 999s because let's be honest, they were very few and far in between, and they were fun. They were just all out. It was the only time where you were told you're allowed to hit a guest with their radio.
Right.
Young and stupid, so it was like jump in.
Yeah. It was like a holiday almost. Yeah.
That got called. Somebody, one of us, got our asses whooped. It was the equivalent of being in the police when someone shoots a cop, and they're like, "That's it. Bets are off." That was our 999. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you heard that, you heard 999 in Game Square, you were like, someone just got their ass whooped, and someone's going to get their ass whooped.
Yeah.
It was fun. That's
man.
to jump in here.
The moment's passed. But I was saying, like, I'm in IT, and, like, whenever there's a big problem, I'm like, well, nobody's life depends on it. Like,
right.
This is nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I work in the
Absolutely.
same business professionally. I'm also an IT professional, and I, without going into detail about who I work for, I'm kind of in the same position as Steve is there. But there's situations where somebody's really trying to light a fire under your ass about something, and you're just like, come on, man. This is not that level of an emergency.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day. I deal with that shit every day where I just kind of giggle and I'm like, I mean, I'm going to take care of you. You're my client, but Jesus Christ, come on.
No. I mean, it helps you to treat it. Like, I still treat it, like, give it the level that they want, but it helps us to, we don't lose our shit.
Exactly.
A much more intense situation. And one of the most important things when you're in free fall position is you got to stay cool. You have to, because then they only get all riled up, So,
Yep.
And let's be honest, we don't learn that from there. I mean, how many times did we get called over to a ride where a person was losing their shit? Why? Because their kid didn't meet the height requirement. Well, what the fuck, motherfucker? You know that. There's a goddamn stick in the front, and the person checked them when they went in. Why did you even wait in the queue line? They didn't need it in the front. Come on.
That was an easy one. It was just like, well, I care about your kid's safety. Why don't you?
Bingo. But that's the point. We were trained for the stupidest argument. And that's my point. That is a stupid argument. You already know it from the front of the park before you come in because we have all the lights listed. You come in, every ride before you get in there has a goddamn foghorn with this foghorn. And you know it is
I
say, boy.
Like, come on. But we never said that to them. We said, you know what? We understand. Why don't we take you over to BBL and put you on some rides there? Blah, blah, blah. Safety is the utmost importance. That's where we learned how to actually talk to guests like that, and not be like, you're an idiot. Get out of here.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what you're thinking the whole time,
Right.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, let's jump over into something that we've had going on for a while. I'm sure Scott's not prepared for this.
He's ready. He's looking at him. He's ready.
I'm scared.
Rich, something we do, which I didn't set you up for this, so you don't have to pipe in on this one, but you can pipe in on what we say. But what we've been doing for the last couple episodes is we've been kind of doing this game where each of us thinks of one or two entertainment-related thing. It could be a movie, a TV show, a music video, anything that's entertainment-related that is tied to a theme park.
Oh, cool.
And
nice.
so we've gone through a whole bunch of them, like the obvious ones, the movie Vacation, the One Final Destination movie, there's a lot of obvious ones. But we try to get, like, some that are a little more nuanced that people don't think. Like, there's a Monkeys video that I brought up that was filmed directly at Six Flags. And the entire video basically is in the arena almost. It's like showing people on rides and the arena. So it's kind of cool. And it's old school arena from the year it was filmed. So it's like, which the arena does, it's there, but it hasn't been used since COVID. So you know what I mean?
No,
so we try to find things like that. And we try to add, and as the more, it's fun because we were talking last week about it. The farther we get doing this, the harder it is to find stuff, even though there's a lot out there, but it is kind of fun. So with that, I'm going to throw it to Peluso first. What do you got, Chris?
Me first. Holy shit.
First?
Oh, man, the pressure.
I mean, Scott
was Scotty some more time. It's all good. He's always Googling. I'll start with a bonus.
I goes, I'm ready, and I see his phone come up. I'm like,
over there.
Google, I had screenshots of my prior Googling so that I could just refer to them quickly.
Love it. I'll start with my bonus first. I'll go two because I'll throw a bonus in there because I don't go to the movies that often.
Okay.
But, the new Haunted Mansion was fantastic.
Nice.
Great, really, really enjoyable. And an entry-level horror for sure for young kids. Now, scary enough for adults to enjoy a little horror. If you like the ride and you can handle the ride, probably good for anybody as far as a horror level. Little hard to say because kids are scared of the weirdest things and whatnot. You never know for sure, but definitely great entry level. A good, hey, let's try this out for any kid that's never tried horror, and just a lot of fun. Awesome use of the hitchhiking ghosts. I'll just say that. Just fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. As far as my main one, I'm going to go with. I can't believe we haven't talked The Simpsons yet. I don't know. I hope I'm not stealing somebody's yet, but The Simpsons. I was going to say, it's fine.
Wait, that wasn't one that I was going to use.
Simpsons has had multiple amusement parks in their show, though.
They have. I was going to go Itchy and Scratchy Land and the Chipper, because the Chipper has to be an homage to friggin' the Matterhorn. Like, the Matterhorn, as I always call it, the backbreaker. The Chipper was a roller coaster that they had, where every few feet it's hitting a bump and they're banging their heads against the bar and they're chipping their teeth. So I love the Chipper. And Itchy and Scratchy Land was a fantastic episode early on. I want to say season 5 or 6. Awesome, parody of Magic Kingdom for the most part. And you could even see maps and stuff. I didn't want to mess with the share and fumble through it, but we could even throw them up on the Facebook. There's maps that I guess they took the screen grab of, and it's obviously a parody of Magic Kingdom, But one of my favorite jokes, though, by Lisa Simpson, I believe, in that episode was when they go to the Future Sphere, which was a parody of Epcot's, big ball and everything. She goes, it's what people in 1965 thought life would be like in 1987, which, as much as I love Disney, was dead friggin' on. Love that so much. But The Simpsons, like you said, have done so many theme parks. I mean, Michael Eisner alone, I feel like, is in 6 or 7. He does
they had him frozen. They come back.
He does Kalima from the Temple of Doom.
They've done everything on there. I mean, as South Park says, Simpsons did it first. They did everything.
Yeah, Simpsons did it. Nice.
Good choices. Good choices. I also let you go first because I had a feeling that if I did it, you might pull one off a Scott.
Nice. I love it.
He's gonna have mine.
In thinking about it this time around, I came up with 5 or 6 others for other shows. Some of them on the more obscure side. So still loving it, still in it.
I went obscure this time because I saw The Simpsons, and I love The Simpsons, but I was like, I'm going to pass on that because A, I don't remember if we did it before. B, I was like,
he sent the list.
Wait, he doesn't remember, and I sent the list out a week.
I checked the list, Steve. I saw the list. I sent it.
Yeah, well, So the first one I grabbed was called Little Fugitive from 1953. Set a little boy who thinks he killed his brother, goes to Coney Island to run away. So talk about obscurity, man.
That's a movie.
Very obscure. Wow.
The description of it makes me actually want to see it.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty crazy. And speaking of obscure, this one, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the...
Nice.
That was on my list. I haven't used yet. That's a good one. I give you kudos. That was an easy fucking low-hanging fruit grab that I left on there. And I was like, I'm going to let this keep rolling for 5 more episodes, and then finally I'll throw it out there. That was a good one.
They battle a mad scientist or whatever that got fired from the park. And they had several shows that were scheduled in Magic Mountain in California. And
nice.
Considered one of the worst movies ever, and that did not help Kiss at all. Yet, anyone from our generation kind of loves the movie.
Hell yeah.
They had the fucking robots.
I barely know it, but as soon as you said it, I remember pieces of it as a kid. No, it was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I give you credit. That was a good one. Good one.
Nice.
That is a good one. I like that one.
Mine, I have another low-hanging fruit that no one would have thought of because it's not the central theme of the movie. However, the movie opens and closes on Coney Island.
I know what it is.
What movie, Rich?
It's got to be the Warriors.
Bingo!
Yeah, I have it down. I have it down.
The Warriors opens on the Wonder Wheel of Coney Island with Coney Island in the background with that somber music. And what's so beautiful is that the Warriors filmed in 79. So you're getting Coney Island when it's gritty and it's dirty looking and it like fits the tone of a movie about a bunch of gangs that are, like fighting. You know what I mean? Like it fits it so perfect. And I mean, I can't imagine people don't know what the fucking Warriors is, but the idea of the Warriors is that this gang is based in Coney Island and somebody in New York calls an enclave where he wants all the gangs to, on a truce, come and they're going to meet in this park. And basically this guy Cyrus, who's one gang leader there, is like, I have a vision. And they all do. They all come. That's the whole opening of the movie is you're watching the gangs all leave their areas and go into this big enclave. And Cyrus is like, look, we're like 50,000 strong and there ain't like 2,000 cops in this place. We can own the damn city. Like, this is it. And then one stupid ass gang member shoots him and they blame the Warriors. So as they say in the movie, the Warriors have to bop their way back through every goddamn gang to get back to Coney Island, which is their home base. Yeah. And that's basically the movie. And the end of the movie ends with them making it back. And it's one of my favorite lines because the original leader gets his ass beat right when that guy blames him on saying that they shot him. So Cleon, the original leader, gets taken down right then. The next up is Swan, and so Swan has to lead what's left of the gang back on their journey to Coney Island. And when he finally gets back there, the dude that blamed them, they've been trying to take him out because they don't want anyone to know that they actually did it. So they're waiting for him there. They just drove a car. It's kind of funny because they drove a car there. Like the Warriors had to take a train, get through all these things. And then you see like, the guys that did all the trouble just drove a car there. But he gets there and it's like one of my favorite lines is Swan literally says, when we see the big CI, when we see the wheel in the background, we're home. We think we're safe. And the dude's like, well, you're not because we're here. But I love that because it's Coney Island is the home base. It's the safe. Right. And, even though it's not the central theme of the movie, it is a big theme in that movie. Like Coney Island is where they're from and it's like their home. They're basically the Coney Island gang. That's where the Warriors are. So I thought that was kind of cool. That's kind of somebody would have caught that one eventually. The other one is actually current. So Netflix last week released a series called Zombieverse. And what Zombieverse is it opens up, it's a Korean series and it takes place in Seoul, South Korea. And basically it's 8 episodes. And when the first episode starts, it's a game show. But they open up by saying, in this universe, zombies exist. If you get bit, you turn into a zombie. And that's all they say. And then they go right to the show starts and they're on like a Bachelor-like show. Okay. So they're on the set of a Bachelor show. Yeah. And one of the contestants is already turning into a zombie. So when one of the Bachelors goes to kiss her, she rips his fucking throat out. And the next thing you know, zombies are running into the set. And they're everywhere. And what's crazy about it, though, is that the whole thing is done like a reality show. So what's so fucked up about it is somebody, and this is what also kind of ruins it. In this world, clearly it's okay to kill contestants to zombies because there's somebody running it. And as these survivors get out of that area, they're traveling, trying to get to a safe area, very much like The Walking Dead. And the whole time they are on the screen, everything they do becomes missions. And the survivors, as they're dying, there's a voiceover chick that's like, the survivors have to take 12 zombies out of here and escape the gas station. Can they do it? And then it's like a mission. So it's done like MTV's The Challenge type thing, right? The reason it fits this criteria, though, is because episode 7 and episode 8, but episode 8
was just released last week. Already in there.
I blocked right through it. It's actually not a great show. However, episode 7 is completely worth watching because the 5 or 6 survivors go to a theme park, and it's a tiny little theme park right on the edge of a river, okay? And unlike Zombieland, everything we bitched about when we brought up Zombieland is the reverse here, and it's very fun because what they do is they get there and every power's out. they immediately figure out where is the power to the park. So they turn the power on so they can see, and then realize, holy fuck, we just invited all the zombies here by bringing the lights and the sounds up.
And
However,
the noise,
what's so cool is that the park is really tiny and neat, and it has like a Ferris wheel, a Buccaneer. It has its own little Roundup version that's a mix between the Music Express and the Roundup, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's all these rides. The second they flick the lights on and they're sitting above there and they're going, why did we do this? They start looking at the rides and seeing survivors in the rides that are stuck because the zombies are everywhere in the park, but the rides are closed off. And then some operators are in the booths. So it's kind of cool because it's everything that
cool.
should have done in Zombieland, but they didn't. Then they go into the game show mode, and some of it's silly. Like one girl loses her freaking what do you call it when you have asthma? The inhaler. She leaves her. They go into. They have this one ride that is like a round. It looks like a roundup. The survivors get in there and they get them out. Okay, they find like 3 other survivors in there. They get them out. And then the girl's like, I left my inhaler in there and I'm having a fit. I'm going to die. Now they've already put 4 zombies in the ride. So they have to go back with the zombies. And what's cool, though, is they go, all right, the only way we're going to survive is like, start it. So it's kind of cool because like the rides are running while they're trying to find the inhaler and avoid the zombies. So it's easy, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
The park, though, is really neat because it has the Asian aesthetic to it. So like their big wheel, all the cars look like those Asian like kind of temple houses.
Yeah.
And the big wheel's really fun because at the end of episode 7, basically the living survivors all go into the big wheel and have the guy that's operating. They're like, we'll make you a deal. There's a boat coming that could save us in like an hour. If you could stay here for an hour, don't let anyone in your booth. Right. You're going to be fine. We'll take you with us, but you got to let us on the ride so we can be safe up there. So they they can only fit like 2 people in a car. So all the survivors go into cars and they're all in there. And that's kind of where episode 7 ends. Episode 8 is just like the other episodes. It's all game showy and it's basically totally tied into what them trying to get off the big wheel.
Right.
The show sucks, but episode 7, it becomes the same thing and the premise is kind of silly. You know what I mean? Like the idea that there's someone who's actually running it like a game show while these people are being killed by zombies just doesn't make really any sense.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of bizarre.
Wasn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Running Man? That was the same deal.
Well, that was different. The government was backing it. In this, the government's not backing it. They're just like, the zombies are alive in this world, but they're not a plague. They're not like The Walking Dead. Like, it's rare when you see them. And, it's kind of cheesy. It really is. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Running Man at least made sense where they're like, oh, no, the government is totally backing this, and that's where they're putting their money into that show, So, but it's still worth watching episode 7 if you love theme parks because that is fun. That whole episode's really fun up until the end. Then you can just turn it off, all right.
Sounds interesting.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Hey, Steve.
Let's jump into a little bit of news. So Six Flags news. First of all, Fright Fest starts September 8th. They're already advertising it.
I haven't even been to the park all year.
Here's the funniest thing. I haven't either, and my freaking season's pass ends next month. However, they also just said that they're having their biggest sale of year drop soon, blah, blah, blah. August 24th, supposedly, is going to be their biggest discount on season pass renewal, which includes like the parking pass, the food thing, everything. So August 24th, they're saying pay attention because that's when we're going to drop it. We all learned, last year. When I renewed last year, they said the same thing. And then not even 3 weeks later, they're like, and here's an even bigger discount with a food pass.
That's what I got.
And they screwed me. So I got the free parking pass. I didn't get that. Whatever. But either way, supposedly it's going to be a big drop right then. National Coaster Day for them is going to be August 16th. That's kind of cool. They're already advertising Fright Fest starts September 8th. So we got to do that. Oktoberfest is going to run the end of this month, August 25th and November 5th. We'll definitely have to do that because they did do a really good Oktoberfest last year. That was fantastic. Gaming Fest ends September 4th. I have a news piece on that, which made me laugh. It might not be the same anymore, but I'll bring that up in a minute. Fireworks, they're still doing all summer long, although remember, they're like really limited hours. They're only doing like that swing shift type of thing, but their fireworks are going to be Fridays and Saturdays through August 26th. One thing I will say that's really cool, their Fright Fest, they did announce they teamed up with some of the movie studios, and they are getting a Conjuring and a Saw maze.
Nice.
Wow.
So
That's
they
cool.
announced them. So they also announced what they're going to be getting. Okay. So a guy named Brendan Don on Great Adventure Connoisseurs, he pulled out the information that they announced and threw it in there, which I appreciate because it saved me from having to pull it myself. So they're going to have Saw 10 maze, they're going to have The Conjuring, then they're going to have a lot of their standard ones: Fears, Manor, Aftermath, Bloodshed, Reflections of the Dead. Those are going to be the mazes.
Was the bitch one last year.
It was.
There's like one guy in there.
I know. And Big Top, which is the one we saved to the last because we're like, it sounds so good. And it was the lamest one ever.
Do they have a skip the line?
There was literally one ghoul in there.
There was one goal. And we just kept laughing at it. It was really silly.
There was a dude too, and I kept laughing when he tried to scare me.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
He's like,
we even got the numbers on you. There's like 10 of us walking through this place and one ghoul. Let's just kick the shit out of him.
What was happening there? And they still have Big Top Terror. Now, there's a dude that's on Great Adventure Connoisseurs who's very in tune with what's going on at Great Adventure, goes almost every day, pays attention. Dude's name is Jason Barlow. Seems like a really nice dude. He said there is going to be one more maze that is going to be a movie franchise they haven't announced yet. So that's kind of cool. So I do give them credit, though. They're trying to tie into actual movie mazes like Universal.
Right.
Wherever. Not to shit on them. But Universal also announced their mazes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Universal's doing The Last of Us maze, Stranger Things 4, The Exorcist, Believer, Universal Monsters, Unmasked Expands, Chucky Ultimate Kill, Evil Dead Rise, Monstrous, The Monsters of Latin America, Holidays in Hell, and Terror Tram, The Exterminators. I have the breakdown for each. We don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to go into them, but I will tell you they all sound fucking awesome. And that kind of bummed me out because I was like, well, at least Great Adventure is taking a step in the right direction, but holy shit. And then Universal also is adding special food options for all their mazes. So like Stranger Things fans, they're actually going to put a Surfer Boy pizza up there with pizzas straight out there. Yeah. They're doing a ton of specialty drinks based on the mazes. So they're kind of going all out, which is pretty cool.
They're Universal, so
they are. I mean, and also let's be honest, Universal's Horror Nights has been so fucking good for so many years. It's kind of crazy. So they also did announce that they are considering next year their official 50th. So they also announced in their earnings call that they are building a new coaster, and it will be there next year. But obviously, because they're doing it in such a short amount of time, it's going to be an off-the-shelf coaster, which, let's be honest, that's what Six Flags always freaking does. They really, I mean, during our time, I know now they've built some, unique ones, but basically, like during our time, half the shit that we had when we worked there was off-the-shelf mini versions, test demo versions.
Right.
It was not a hidden secret that, Skull Mountain was the mini version. There was bigger versions out there. We got Ultra Twister, which was also the same thing, A lot of the stuff we have is always that. That doesn't mean it's going to be a bad ride.
Yeah.
They're also putting hints on what kind of coaster it's going to be out there. They're putting clues up on emails. They're putting them hidden into the park. I can't figure any of that shit out. I'm not smart enough. So, but they have it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The one thing
I was going to say for Horror Nights at Six Flags, do they do a skip the line like a Universal does, or do they offer?
Yeah, you could buy. So you have to buy a pass, and you could buy We bought a kind of skip the line pass. I don't remember what it cost. Was it every one? I think it was, right? We got to go through every one once and one.
Yeah, that's what Universal does. Yeah. I mean, the whole process, it's ungodly expensive, but I don't see how you could do them without it. I can't wait in those lines. They're like 2 hours a piece.
No, you would do these tops on a big night. We did the same thing, paid for it, and we got through them all. And I think they let you go through one twice, if I'm remembering. So, the disappointment thing is that, obviously the ride that has the most nostalgia in my heart because I was the lead on it forever. The log flume has a big ass sign out front that says, "Please pardon our appearance. The log flume is currently closed as it undergoes a makeover for our 50th anniversary. See you when we open in summer of 2024. So, no log flumes.
I can't wait to see it when they're done, though.
Yeah, me too, because I want to know what the hell they're making over. There's so many things in that log flume that never worked that was shut off when I was a lead that I'm wondering if they're going to do any of that.
No, my prediction is it's going to be the same exact ride. Maybe they'll pick some of the broken footboards.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it's going to be, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a big stuff too, but I hope not.
Like, what did they do?
I'm not going to go through any of these. I'll save them for the next one. I will say I'm not going to go into it, but Universal Orlando has opened Minion Land, and it sounds really fucking awesome, and I have the details. I will bring that one. I will go through them on the next podcast next month. However, the one thing I will point out is that Scotty is going to die of happiness when he goes there. Because as we all know, if you watch the Minion shows or any of the series or the cartoons, they're all about the bananas. Bananas! I love the bananas. I don't understand because he doesn't eat them. He just sucks them.
Yeah.
Scotty loves the bananas.
Hey now.
Baboon won. Baboon won. You know, come on. I'm Baboon too. I love bananas.
I will say one thing that I think is so cool is in one of their shops they have banana flavored popcorn that you could smell from like a block away, and I'm like, holy shit, that actually sounds awesome. But ton of stuff for there. We'll go into that on the next podcast because we're kind of down to the end of our time, and I don't want to skip over. I did upload 3 different folders to our Facebook page. They're all about my Star Wars family trip with my family.
Oh, nice.
The first folder is in order our trip from day 1, day 2, and day 3 of being on the actual Galactic Star Cruiser. So people who don't know what that is, Star Wars opened up a hotel.
Don't bother learning because it's not coming back.
Yeah, that's why I'm not. So they opened up a hotel. It is called the Galactic Star Cruiser. It's named the Halcyon. That's the name of the cruiser. It's on the Chandrila Star Line. What's really cool is that it runs about the cost was what kind of killed it. It ran about $5,000 for 2 people for a standard room. There were 2 other type of room upgrades. We had one of the upgrade rooms when we went. My family did us right. It was a Christmas trip. It was amazing. My cousin Michael and his wife both are former shows people. Michael was a show's. I don't know if he was a full-timer. I know he was a seasonal. I'm not sure if he was ever full-time. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But they did us a solid. They took our whole family to it. It was, we did a whole 3-day thing. It was pretty fucking amazing. I will say a lot of people think that it failed because it was just stupid and it wasn't good, and that is wrong. It failed because a lot of people didn't want to pay the price, because for the same cost you could do like 7 days at one of the core hotels and go to one of the regular parks. But if you're a Star Wars nerd, or if you wanted something that was a fully immersive experience, you will never get anything better than what they built. That hotel, from the moment they let you in on day 1 to the moment you left on day 3, was a fully immersive adventure. You had an app that helped you out. I put all the screenshots from the app that I saved. And what's crazy is that I'm so happy I saved them, because on your day 3, they wipe it. So all of your experience on the app goes away. All the things you did, all the accomplishments that you did go away. So most of mine are there, though, because I screenshotted them, because I had a feeling they might do that. It is so immersive. I put videos up of as much stuff as I could. It is really cool. It was a fantastic experience, one of a kind. I'll never forget it. I don't think any of my family will. We still text about it every so often. Like, it was that good. Day 1, you're fully on the Galactic Cruiser, which is basically a hotel. Okay. But once you step foot into that place, they make it look like you got launched from Earth to the Galactic Cruiser. Okay. And you're in the Galactic Cruiser the moment the doors open. There's a bridge, there's a bar, there's like a gift shop, and there's like, all these other interactive things. There's an engine room, there's a lightsaber training room, there's like, a massive dining hall. Your rooms are done. Everything looks like you're in space. So all the portholes look like they're completely moving outer space ships behind you and everything. You interact with an app and adventures. The adventures are fully interactive with the cast that's there. Some of the cast are fully shows people that are characters, and some are just the people that are working in a hotel. However, even the people this is why I want to bring this up. The moment we got there, the people that checked us in were then suddenly the people that were inside on the cruiser also bringing us our bags. And then the next day, they might be serving us our food. It is the actual 120 project worked right. It was absolutely, people were doing a little bit of everything. So they didn't have a large crew, staff, but they made them, and they never break character. We only got them to break character once in the gift shop at the end of day 2, right at the end of the night. And it was so minor that we got them to make dick jokes about the lightsabers because they had different size lightsabers. Otherwise, the guy said, "You're going to get me fired. I hope there's no cameras on me." Like, he literally was so scared to do it. But we got 2 guys to break character finally. And it was only because we were half tipsed out from the bar, and we were making them laugh so hard that they wanted to break character. Like, you could tell they wanted to.
Nice.
You know, I'm in my Loudon outfit, and I'm challenging this dude to play sabacc. He breaks open a sabacc case right there that they sell, and we played sabacc. Like, it was pretty cool. Day
cool.
1, you're fully in an adventure there. Day 2, you get shipped down to Batu, which is Galaxy's Edge. The second folder I put is in no particular order the way I uploaded it, but it's my whole Galaxy's Edge, our whole trip there, which includes a video of the entire lightsaber ceremony. If you want to see a park done right, I know you went to Galaxy's Edge, Chris. Yeah, you went.
The lightsaber ceremony is fantastic. Like,
the entire thing. I also put a full video of the droid making as well. From the select
that's fun too.
making.
Yeah.
Both of those things are worth every effing expense in that place.
They really are.
On top of it, that entire park is themed so fucking perfect that if you want to see a park done right, that is an immersive Star Wars park. From beginning, it was just amazing. We only spent like the day there. Day 3 is like, then you spend the day at the park, you go back, massive show and dinner at the hotel. We put all of our, like, I put some of the dinner stuff up. Everything when you eat at dinner is done like space. It's all done like space, but it's like, so it's like blue shrimp with smoke coming off of it. Or something else, you know, but it was pretty fucking awesome, man.
That's cool.
It was really neat. The trip's amazing. We threw up the folders. I will say, even though the cruiser, the hotel is shutting down at the end of this month, Galaxy's Edge is not, and it is absolutely worth visiting. What we also put is I put in a third folder because on our last day, they boot you out of the Star Cruiser, drops you back to Earth at 11 a.m. You're out. You got to go. Okay? And we deliberately booked later flights, and we went to Disney Springs, which is right next to Galaxy's Edge. That is everything. So Disney Springs is basically the Jackson outlets outside of Six Flags, except created by Disney.
Cool,
And so if Jackson Outlets had worked with GA to create that together and make that more of an immersive thing so they could tie their businesses together.
Immersive to what? Like Fantasy Force? You know, walking around with like this fruit stupid uniform?
At the time, Warner Brothers was their people, so they could have done Warner Brothers characters, a Warner Brothers store. There's a Disney store in there. There's all Disney offerings. However,
you still feel like you're at Disney when you're at the Springs.
Disney Springs also has the restaurants are insane. Their rainforest restaurant actually has a life-size volcano on the outside. They have a dinosaur restaurant that has
T-Rex.
Their life-size T-Rex outside. You know,
Morimoto is fantastic.
We eat at the boathouse where you can actually go on amphibian cars and go around the valley and then come back and then eat in the boathouse. Like, I mean,
that's cool.
Dude, they have a little kiosk that is fresh baked dog biscuits and nothing but dog and cat stuff. So even leaving that day, I got there. Their Lego store, the outside is like in their lake is a life-size Lego Loch Ness monster. And there's also every single Harry Potter character and especially Star Wars character you can imagine, life-size done in Legos, just sitting outside, just for you to look at. Just for you to look at. Like, it's everything that the Jackson Outlet should have been. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I just want to point it out because it disappoints me because they could have done so much better if they had just tried to work. It is, again, a perfect example where Disney does things right.
I mean, is the Weezer of like theme parks, you know, they could have been so much more.
But they're always like that. Well, you know why it is? Because, and we've said this before, and it's not their fault, but they focus on A, they're seasonal, they're not year round, and B, they're also focused on thrill rides, input, output on the rides. That's their thing. They're not even honestly shows like theme focused anymore, even though they're getting better at it again since COVID. They're not shows themed. Nothing like Disney.
You got to figure there's got to be some sort of critical mass, though. Like it takes so much investment and money to get because the theming, you don't get an instant ROI on it. Like when you put in a thrill ride, you bring in people. Like the theming is you got to build up the whole environment to like get to the point where people are like, well, I want to go there just because it's so cool to be in the queue line. Nobody says that about anywhere except Universal and Disney. You know, it's like
it's true. I'm not going to get into it, but if you look it up, the Disney Park just put out their earnings call. So they did talk about how much of a hit they're going to take on the Star Cruiser shutting down. I will put it this way, though. I think they should have worked harder in this year to figure out a way to make that more affordable to people, or
make people understand what it was, because I didn't know.
Bingo. Or market it better, because even me, my family, in that first folder where it's just about the cruiser hotel, I put some pictures that are just prep. Okay, the first like 15 pictures were all prep, and I also put stuff from the books to explain what the cruiser is. Yeah. Once you actually understand what it is, there's no way, if you're a Star Wars nerd, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, the biggest headline was the cost. You know what I mean? You can't have the cost be your biggest headline.
But the moment you understand what you're getting, you understand you're getting your every penny that you spend is worth it for what you're getting. You're seeing what you're spending when you're there. It is not like a cash grab. You know what I mean? Like, you're seeing it. I mean,
$800 a day to be in a completely immersive world experience, 24/7 of like.
And it was 24 fucking 7. I mean, dude, they had a female Greedo that sings and dances.
You know what though? Give me an immersive friggin' meal. You know what I mean? And then maybe I'll know what I'm getting if I have an immersive day or two. That's part of the problem though too. The canteen you have to stand up in for about 30 to 60 minutes, or as long as your feet can take it. Problem. That's a big problem, and they're charging a fortune. I love the canteen, but I don't want to stand up in it. Two, it's not the cantina that we know. It's some brand new one. Morons. Give us what we want. We want the friggin' cantina from the movie. You know? And give me a restaurant. Use that Star Cruiser and give me a restaurant that I can sit down in and have a Star Wars experience for 2 hours, not 2 days. And I'll pay a fortune, but I don't have to pay $4,500. I could pay $400 and get my Star Wars experience for 2 hours. Just like the lightsaber. What does the lightsaber cost? $200. And people go in there like they're giving it away. It's $200, but people, you can barely get a reservation for it. You know, it's $200 versus $2,000 a person. You gotta give us something.
However,
and you'll get their payback.
I will point out, our first night was kind of like, you know, everything was like. First of all, their dining hall is set up like that, and you can take all the time you want. And The second night you're there, your last night there, okay. It is the chef comes out just like in the movie Chef, dude.
Right.
All these people come out, everything on serving trays, and he announces what planet each of your courses come. It's like a 5-course meal. They come out. They're all smoking and doing all kinds of other shit, you know. In the bar, all their specialty drinks, you'll see there's some video in there too where like one of them is like a venom drink, where she has to put the anti-venom drops in when she gives you the drink or you're going to die, you know? Like half the drinks you get smoke while you're drinking them. That fully immersive meal you're talking about, we had.
No, that's what I'm saying. Offer that. The cantina is close. They do all that. The provision, super fun. The food, there's only 2 items, but it's fun. You know what I mean? But you have to stand, and it's too small. You know what I mean? That's the reason why you're standing is because it was made too small. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, give us a friggin' restaurant where we can do stuff. Give us 4 and you'll fill them. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're thinking. It doesn't seem like it's that difficult.
I don't think they expected Galaxy's Edge to be as big as it is.
Yeah, it's just,
I really don't.
It's Star Wars. You know? I mean,
you are right. Like, they have so many cool things in there, but it does need to expand. Like, it absolutely. But the thing with them is that I think getting rid of the Star Cruiser, maybe that's what they're going to focus on because they want to keep pushing the Star Wars stuff. I mean, unless they do something with the Star Cruiser, which they have to. They put too much money into that.
Make it a restaurant or something. Do something. Yeah.
But I will tell you, the other thing that's really disappointing is that the interactivity between the people staying on a Star Cruiser and what the people on Galaxy's Edge were trained to do, to know that we're on missions, give us special stuff. There's hidden stuff all over the park. You'll never know that unless you stay on that Star Cruiser. That's all gone. All gone. It really is kind of disappointing.
It's a shame.
I would just say best vacation a family could ever give me. I've been on a billion. I don't think anyone's ever beat that vacation. It's fucking amazing.
Nice.
It was really good. It was really good. I'm so disappointed that you know I can't do it again. That's all I can say. I'm disappointed I can't do it again. You know?
Now it sounds amazing.
Yep. Well, we have definitely reached the end of our time. We're in overtime now, man. Our podcast guy Chris is probably like, shut up, everybody. You know?
Enough Star Wars, goddammit.
As we always say, time flies when you're having fun. This was a lot of fun, Rich. Rich, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me. I had an excellent time. It was great to
Nice.
reminisce with you fellas. Nice meeting you, Chris and Scott.
Definitely.
And
Excellent.
Steve, we definitely got to hang out, bro.
Yeah, man. And we'd like to thank everyone that joined us on Facebook Live, everyone that made some comments. As always, like we said, this will be available right on Facebook Live immediately. Audio version will go up. And until next time, signing off for now, I am Steve Hicks. My co-hosts are
Scott Loudon.
Chris Peluso.
and our guest co-host is
RK Scott.
RK Scott. Thanks, everybody. As always, make it a great day, everyone. We'll see you all,
All right,
soon.
guys.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.
Have a good one.